Welcome to Upfront with Jeff Coleman. My name is Chris. There's a lot we're going to get into tonight. Property tax debacle happening in Jackson County. That's going to be the number one issue. Let's get into it. Welcome to Upfront with Jeff Coleman. My name is Chris. Glad you guys can make it into another podcast. I am sitting here at the table with the namesake of this podcast, Representative Jeff Coleman.
Hey, Chris. Good to be here.
And special guest, Dakota Worrell.
Good to be here, Chris.
All right, guys. So Jackson County, like I said at the beginning, Jackson County has a huge debacle going on with their property taxes, and it is out of control. 4 years ago, Jeff, we were talking about this, and you had a awesome bill in place that we've talked about several times on this podcast and on other podcasts. You've been fighting for this for 4 years in the Missouri legislature. It has not gone through because there's no special interest backing it. What the heck is going on? What can people do? Let's go ahead and dive right into this.
Yeah, Chris, thank you. It's a really, really frustrating thing because there's so much at stake. There are people out there that in the elder areas where they have to make decisions as to whether they get their medicines or whether they pay their rent and their taxes and buy their food. And then there's also what we tend to forget, excuse me, is that there's also lower income folks out there that are getting hit just as hard, and they have the same issues. And that's what people don't think about. It's across the board. And you're right, we've been working on this for the last 4 years, and it's just really frustrating whenever you can't get people to understand how urgent this has been. And here we are 4 years later, and Jackson County has just gone off the cliff with their assessments, and everybody's scared to death. So, they've been calling me, they've been emailing me, and what I'm telling them at this point in time is there's nothing I can do. I've done everything I can do up to this point, but what they can do is call the governor's office, and that's what they have to do right now. They need to call him and ask him for a special session, because that's the only way we're going to get anything done right away. Right now, if we pass my bill this year, we'd still be waiting probably a couple years before it gets put in play. And the bill that we have currently is Senate Bill 190. The efforts that went into that were good, but not good enough. So if we don't get that resolved, if we don't get the governor to call for a special session, we're looking a couple years down the road, because the county has to approve it. If the county doesn't approve it, then what ends up happening is we have to get all the people in Jackson County to do a petition. And when they do the petition, it's going to take a little bit to get on the ballot so that we can vote on that. So it's an issue that's going to take a while, and I don't know that we have a while. So that's a kind of a frustrating thing. The other thing I got to tell you is that in this bill that the governor has on his desk, Senate Bill 190, what that does is it freezes everybody 65 and older. It freezes their property tax. But what it doesn't do is freeze their assessed values. And the way that works, I'm going to give you an example. If you're 65 years old right now, and your bill is $2,000, your tax bill is $2,000, and then 2 years down the road, the assessed values come back out, and they force your property tax under normal circumstances up to $3,000, let's say. Your property value was frozen under this current bill at $2,000. But because they're allowing the counties to increase your values, it creates a new tax, and you still have to pay that full tax, and then the county reimburses you the difference between the frozen value, which in this illustration was $2,000, and using the same illustration, the new value would be $3,000 a tax. Hopefully, I'm not confusing everybody.
Well, okay. That being said, though, Jeff, that does sound like a pretty confusing process that they have to go through just to lower your taxes, getting reimbursed and everything like that.
That's right. Well, the counties don't even know. They don't even have a process to put in place to do this. They don't have a process to know who's 65 and who's not. There's a lot that this bill leaves to be desired. And I appreciate that they're trying, but again, this wasn't thought through, and the leadership didn't do a very good job of selecting the right bills. Because, as I mentioned, my legislation I've been putting through for the last 4 years, and we were in the Senate. We got it passed on the House floor, and finally, for the first time, it went to the Senate. I lobbied all the senators, and not once did I have a senator say, "Yeah, that's a horrible bill." They liked it.
It went through committee as well, didn't it?
It did. It went through the Senate committees. It was just sitting there waiting to get heard on the floor, and we ran out of time. And that I put the blame on leadership in both chambers.
It just seems like.
Oh, hold on there, Dakota. We're having an audio issue with you. Let me make sure everything is on and.
You know why?
Why?
There we go.
There we go.
I'm here. No, I was just going to say, it seems like a very poor Band-Aid solution late at the 11th hour when they could have passed your bill 4 years ago and obviated all of this. This couldn't come at a worse time, this property assessment issue, when we've got record-breaking inflation already eating into people's wealth and savings and ability to just live. Eggs go up, milk goes up, gasoline goes up. Now mortgage interest rates go up, so now your mortgage goes up, and on top of that, the government wants to raise your taxes on you. This is like the worst possible storm forming right now in our state. We could have done something about it 4 years ago, and their best solution right now at the very last minute when people are about to be forced out of their homes is, well, we can just freeze things where they're at, and we don't have a process for how to reimburse people, but this is the best we can come up with right now. And they still won't pass your bill.
Well, that's why, again, I've got it out on Facebook. I've been going to meetings, and I just make sure that everybody knows they need to call the governor and ask for a special session. He can do that if he wants to do that. And unless people put the pressure out there, nothing will happen. That's why we have to have people engaged and active and get going.
Well, if people are upset enough about, where their financial situation, if people are upset enough, the least you can do is pick up the phone and call the governor's office. What's that phone number, Jeff?
It takes no time at all. Bear with me for a second, because I think that producer Kress is going to do that for us.
Yeah,
it's
and
573-751.
3222. That's area code 573. This is for Jefferson City. 573-751-3222. Missouri Governor Mike Parson. Feel free to email his office also. I'm not seeing the email on here. Do you happen to know what it is offhand?
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I think it would be Mike.Parson, not Parsons, but Parson, at governor.mo for Missouri.gov. So that's Mike.Parson at governor.mo.gov.
And one more time with this telephone number, guys. You can hit the rewind button also. 30 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it is. Area code 573-751-3222. 573-751-3222.
If you're upset enough, you'll pick up that phone and call. I imagine many of you are, and quite frankly, the quickest way to get the wheels of government turning is to bug them relentlessly. That's the only way you get things done. I actually had a political science professor who told me he had experience working in the bureaucracy himself, and he's told me straight up. Yeah, he said straight up that the only way to get anything done in government is to relentlessly bug people until they're tired of hearing from you, and then they finally get off their butt and do something. That's how bureaucracy works.
And don't just do it yourself. Call them and then go find somebody, a friend, a neighbor, somebody else that's upset, and be active. Be an activist and go out and get more people to call, because the more people that call him, the better off it is.
Absolutely. And so, Jeff, are you going to bring this bill up again next session?
Well, I hope I don't have to, but yes, I am. If nothing gets done right now, I will be pre-filing it the 1st of December, so that we have an early start on as soon as we can get it to the floor through committees at the early part of January. And believe me, if we don't get it done, I'll be talking to everybody again, because I'm going to need your help again, not necessarily with the governor at that point, but with the leadership of both chambers. That would be the Speaker of the House and then the Speaker Pro Tem with the Senate, because they need to know how important this is to you.
Do you think there's going to be another holdup in the Senate or in the House? Because I know it got through committee, through the House, onto the House floor pretty darn fast this last session, but we were just like you were saying, the holdup was the calendar for the Senate floor, and they kind of held it back.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm a little bit tainted at this point in time with the processes down there, and quite honestly, I'm just wondering if leadership had, on both sides of the chambers, if they had their favorite bill that they wanted to try to get through,
which was the
Senator
109,
Luke DeMiner's 190.
190. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so, I guess my frustration is going to show through in this show, because we go out there and we tout how much we're doing for our seniors, because in that same bill, Senate Bill 190.
Let it show, because what's the name of the show? Upfront.
Yeah.
You are upfront with the people, so let's go ahead and...
Yeah, because in his bill, two things were addressed. In one of them was Social Security, Missouri taxes on Social Security. Missouri's taxes on Social Security start at $75,000 as an individual, $75,000 of income, and then $100,000 of joint income if you're married and you're filing jointly.
Did you know a lot of 65-year-olds making $75,000 on a fixed income?
Exactly. That's the point. Nobody was paying any Social Security tax from Missouri. Let's put it this way. A very small percentage of people were paying Social Security taxes in Missouri. And yet we go out and we tout, oh my gosh, look at what we're doing for all of our people. Because people that they think that they're trying to help, or they say they're trying to help, is they're the lower income. Well, the lower income aren't paying taxes. And then when they come out with this bill and they talk about how awesome we're taking care of our seniors. Well, no, not really. And so I guess I'm a little bit frustrated, because I've been working on this for so long with a bill that I know that works, and all of a sudden they come out with this other deal that they're going to take. And I think that the local communities, the local municipalities, are who have gotten in their heads.
The school boards and
the cities, the
especially
counties.
The school board, though.
Yeah.
And I don't want to digress of what you were saying, but the school boards have a lot of input on this as well. They're afraid that their levies are going to be affected by this.
Listen, here, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to get this point out real quick. What I want everybody to know is that in my bill, none of those municipalities, nobody loses any money. They get the exact same thing they got last year, plus they get a maximum of 2% every year. So over the 2-year period of how they assess, they're going to get 4%. Now, if that's not enough, guess what? They can go back out to the people, and they can put it on the ballot to increase the tax levies if they need more money. And what that's called is called taxation with representation, because we get to vote whether we want it.
One more time.
Taxation with representation.
And how does that happen?
Yeah, well, because when they go if they need more money, they go to the people, they ask them if they can get that more money, and then the people get to decide.
How it should be.
That's exactly how it should be. And so, but see, what they're worried about is what if they go to the people and the people say no?
Well, and the people have spoken.
That's right.
Okay.
And the fact is that means you have to tighten down your budget.
Right.
If the people say no, we don't want to give that to you, you have to look at your budget and be honest about it and tighten it down. And the fact is, again, you're not losing any money. You just didn't have the world.
Right. They shouldn't have unfettered access
That's exactly
to our
right.
tax money or our money
That's
to
right.
begin with.
Yep, that's right.
I mean, they should not have that unfettered access at all.
And they've had it for I don't know how long.
Forever.
Yep.
I mean, the Hancock Amendment explains what happens, and we can go into that here in a minute. But that unfettered access, they can just continue to raise and raise and raise, and not even go to the people saying, "Hey, we're going to take away more of your taxes. X amount's coming out." It's just, "Oh, here, this is what we've been doing at the end of the year." It shows on mine 40. I don't want to be wrong, but let me pull this right here. I actually have it on my phone, and I can tell you what has been taken out of our taxes county-wise. 63.15% goes to the school district. That's the Fort Osage School District for operating, but their debt service we're paying 14.99%. And the City of Independence, let me see where this is at right here. City of Independence General Fund gets 4.22%. I mean, this is coming straight from my tax bill. 4.22% going to the city.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out, first of all, to your guys' point, you don't have your own personal lobbyist at the Capitol, but the school districts do. The municipalities have lobbyists.
Correct.
That represent them in Jefferson City.
That's exactly
so
right.
they can get more and more and more and more.
Which is to your point earlier, Chris. That's why it makes it hard for me to get this through, because I'm working for the people with no special interest groups, and they're working for the special interest.
Right.
And
exactly.
so the special interests always, they have more money, they spend money to give to the reps and the senators, and it's just a political game, and that's the way it is. But we need the people to start stepping up like these lobbyists are stepping up to go against us.
The people can lobby also. If you got a group of people together and took a road trip to Jefferson City and walked through the Capitol, office to office, you guys can lobby just like they can. You don't need a $5,000 suit to do it.
You got to realize there's no money backing your bill.
That's right.
When you send people, individuals, citizens, residents of the state of Missouri to Jefferson City, walking around that hall of the Capitol of the Missouri House, and on the other side of the building, the Missouri Senate, I believe that the representatives down there representing you, the people, will see, okay, this Jeff Coleman has a bill, House Bill 132, let's call it, and hypothetically,
just so you know, that's not the number.
That's not the number. I'm just throwing out a number.
Exactly, I get you.
I want you guys going to a rep's office. I want you to look at this, and I want you to pass this on the House floor. I want, if it's in committee, I want you guys to pass this in committee. This is important for us, the residents of Missouri. This is important. I live in Green Valley. I live in Independence. Our tax has gone up 38%, 50%, 117% in some cases.
Right.
we're being taxed out of our homes. Please help us out here. And your job, their job, the representative's job, would relay that message. Hey, we had a group of people down here at the Capitol, and this is what they said.
Well, it's like when people start seeing you show up at the committee meetings, and you have a large group of people that are
It gets pretty
testifying.
serious.
All of a sudden, it becomes real to them.
Right.
Right? And then when it gets to the committees, and you head back down there, and you're up in the gallery, even though you can't say anything, but the people are there.
Yes.
And they can see you up there.
Yes.
Again, it becomes real. And they're like, oh, maybe this is something we need to do.
Much more effective than a phone call or an email. Infinitely more effective.
It is, but when there's no session, you have to call and you have to email. You need to do a lot.
Yep.
So this is important, folks, and this is I cannot stop them from doing what they're doing unless you help me. And that's what I've been trying to get everybody to do for the last 4 years. I think that now, finally, it's reached a critical stage, and I think that's
Well, I mean,
what
the breaking
people are
point.
starting. Yeah, exactly.
If you're listening to this, comment on Jeff Coleman's Citizens for Jeff Coleman's Facebook page on his most recent post video he's done about this issue. Comment.
I mean, heck, even this post right here, we're going to put this on his Facebook
Comment
page.
here. To comment somewhere saying, you know, I got my tax bill and it's gone up this much or what have you. You know, just flood the comments with your personal experience on this.
Because he's going to be able to take this back with him to Jeff City, and when this bill's introduced, he's going to be able to show everybody on the committee, all the other House reps, hey, look at the activity that I got on my Facebook page alone about what's been happening with my tax dollars.
And I'll make a special trip down there as soon as we get some people that are ready to make a commitment on the Facebook page, or maybe you even want to drive down with me, and we'll just...
Well, yeah, they can go down with you, even in session when this bill is ready to be presented in committee.
Well, yeah, but I want people to... I don't want people to think, let's wait. I want people to think, let's get
action now.
Action now, because this is a time where people are like, how in the world am I going to make this payment? I just talked to a friend today whose tax bill went up from $6,000 to $9,000.
What?
It's incredible. And I think I told this story in some of the speaking engagements I've had over the last week, that there's a gentleman, and I won't mention his name, but he's an awesome guy. He's in Oak Grove, who I started talking to. I went to their neighborhood and did a little presentation when all this first started 4 years ago. He told me, Jeff, I don't know if we can stay here. And he had a nice house.
Isn't that ridiculous?
And you know what? I think it was 2 years later, he sold his house. He couldn't pay the taxes. He sold his house. He moved, I think it was 7 miles down the road across the county line into Lafayette County, and he built the exact same house in Lafayette County. He's able to stay there because he can afford the taxes there.
Wow.
So those are the things you shouldn't have to do. It took a lot of time to build that house in Oak Grove, and he gave up all that time and effort to have to start it all over again. So,
see, my worry is that senior citizens, they're on this fixed income. They're getting Social Security. They're getting maybe a small pension. You know, they're not making very much. They're barely getting by with the grocery prices now. Most of them can't drive, but the grocery prices, paying for their medicine, because sometimes whatever insurance they have may not cover everything. They're going to get taxed out of their home because this has gone up so much. Mine's been escrowed into my mortgage account, and I know my payments are pretty high right now, but it's going to go up another 38%. 38%.
wow.
And I'm going to be in the same boat here in a little bit.
Yep. You know, there are some folks that can't move, right?
No, they can't.
And then they can't pay their taxes. So what happens?
What happens?
Well, you get 3 years to pay your taxes. If you don't pay this year, you get 3 years to get it paid.
And then what?
And then you're out.
What do you mean you're out?
The county comes in and evicts you, and they take the house and they sell it.
So the county evicts you from the
Your
house?
No.
My house that I've paid on for
Right.
30 years. The mortgage might be paid off. The deed is in my hand from the bank. Congratulations. You paid on this house for 30 years. This house is now yours. But if I don't pay the taxes, oppressed on me by the county of Jackson,
It's not yours anymore.
it's not mine anymore. So how is that personal property when the county ends up taking it away? I didn't think the government could take your personal property away.
Well, and here's another thing to think about, and there's nothing I can do about this at this point. But when you buy your house, let's say you buy your house for $100,000, you're in it for 10 years. The county now says, or you actually could sell your house for $300,000, right?
That's a nice little income on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
except because I'm glad you said that, because it's not an income. That is just a value. You have never received an income off of that property.
Oh, good point.
So why are you paying taxes on something you've never received?
Well, wouldn't that be considered a capital gains tax?
No.
That wouldn't be a capital gains tax.
No, because capital gains only happens whenever you sell
right,
and you
no.
receive those funds.
If you happen to sell that house,
If you happen to
when
sell
it's at $300,000,
right,
then you'd pay the capital gains tax.
right.
Why
But-
aren't we going off of that? Why are we paying?
Yeah, I know, but why are we having to pay a tax based upon a phantom value that the county decides is what
Wants
they
to assess.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make any sense. Again, we
Yeah, there's
had
no
a tea
logic
party,
into this,
didn't we?
is there?
Didn't we have a tea party at one time?
Well-
that was worse.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, this legally speaking goes back to England. So in England, going all the way back to the Norman invasion, anyway, the legal idea of property in England is technically the king owns all the land in England. So the king is the ultimate owner of England. You're just there leasing it, essentially. So you never actually own land. Now, there's special cases where you might actually own it outright, but you never technically own land in England. The king is the ultimate owner. He's just giving you the privilege of owning it and using it in his stead. So that legal idea came over to America, and instead of the king owning all the land, the United States Republic, or however you want to put it, the state of Missouri owns all of the land, and you get to pay the state of Missouri rent for the privilege of sitting on this land, essentially, and that's what property taxes are.
Yeah, well,
Wow,
Sure.
thank you.
sure feels like we're back in England again, huh?
Well, maybe I need to throw some more tea into the harbor. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
How about we throw Gail McCann Beatty and Frank White in the harbor, right down in the Missouri River?
exactly.
Throw some Bud Light in there while you're at it.
But that was good. The thing is, the detractors are going to come back and say, well, you got to pay taxes. How are you going to pay for all of your services? You got your police, and you got your fire, and you got your infrastructure, and you got your schools.
Yeah, and not every state has property taxes. Different states have different ways of taxing. Some states have a state sales tax, and they fund. There are other states that don't have an income tax.
Well, you came from Florida.
Yeah,
You lived there for
about a year.
a year.
Yeah, and I lived in Texas for about a year too. Neither of those states have a state income tax.
There we go.
So there are other ways of doing things. If we really wanted to be creative about it, we could think outside the box and have different ways of raising money to fund the basic services of government. And by the way, the basic services of government are not everything under the sun. It should be limited to a very a
right.
handful of things.
That's
Like
Whoa, you're gonna sound. Sir, you're sounding a little extreme there, Dakota.
I know. My unpopular opinion is that the only real purpose of government is really the military, police, and the courts. Everything else is way too extra. Government shouldn't be doing it.
Government, you're extra.
Way too extra. And they don't even do it right to begin with anyway.
Government needs to be mid.
Oh my
So
God.
no,
I don't think you're using that right.
No, I think I am. So basic government services are what we need to be taxing for: police, fire, the protection of its citizens, and infrastructure. Period.
Well, you're leaving out the big thing of education, and
Why can't we privatize education?
Well, but then you wouldn't have all these wonderful things that our kids are learning.
Tuck-friendly swimsuits,
Like that stuff. Yeah.
PEI,
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
Social emotional learning.
social emotional learning. Yep. Okay, we had some slight audio issues, and the computer just froze up. So we were talking about
Social emotional learning.
Right. I don't think we should say that again because I think that's what's making the computer. Apple knows it all.
They're trying to shut us down. We're getting too spicy.
All of a sudden, it started clicking over here. Did a little feedback thing and froze on us, and we're going now. So
We're back.
They don't know that, but
Yeah, they
it's been
do.
10 minutes for us. It's been half a second for them.
Edit that out, Jamie. Edit that out.
Yes. Okay,
I kind of
so
like it. So yeah, I made the comment that the schools get a big portion of that tax as well, and there was a time where I think that was worth the monies going in, but anymore, I got to be honest with you. I just got off the school board after. Did it happen again? Oh, okay. I got off the school board after 12
Dakota's
years.
just knocking around the microphone really loud.
Oh my gosh, we're professionals around here.
No fall from it.
But after 12 years, things are going so south on what's going on in the schools, and
Well, even out here in Graydon Valley,
Yeah.
where it's a rural community.
Well,
it's classified as rural. I mean, you're not in the country,
no, that's
but
true.
it's classified, just like Fort Osage is classified as a rural
Yeah.
community instead of a suburban community.
We're in the suburban six.
I understand that.
Well, ask Kansas City or St. Louis if they think you're rural, and I'm pretty sure they'd tell you yes.
Oh, they would say yes.
Well, yeah,
I would hate to see something like whatever Higginsville. See what they'd classify if you don't think that's rural, or down there in Centerview, Missouri.
yeah. I used to live there.
Yeah,
Yeah, in Centerview.
my wife's aunt lives down there.
I went to second grade in Centerview.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
I bet
But
you
yeah.
even in Centerview, they're moving in with the CRT and the DEI.
You know,
You
I
know-
think those Cowboys would kick some ass if they did.
I wish they would, but
I don't think they're doing it.
I don't see it happening.
Here's the problem, because people are going to agree, and then there's going to be people that disagree. But I'm telling you, this is happening. The indoctrination is starting in the colleges, and the teachers, what they're learning in school.
Preach it.
And then they get out of school, they come into the K-12, and that's what they're pushing.
Yeah, those teachers at your rural schools, where are they educated at?
Yep.
Universities?
Large university.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So then
Yep.
they're learning all the same
That's
stuff.
exactly right. That's right. And so
They're bringing it with them.
Look, there even here in Grain Valley, just not too long ago at one of the board meetings, we've always had this issue about what books do we have in the library. And
Here's that.
now we know that we have some of the books that are pornographic. And in the school board meeting, that issue came up, and there was an argument. And I won't talk about who said what, but the argument was
administration versus teachers
it was
teachers
board
with you
members.
guys.
It was board
members
members, yeah.
against. Okay.
And so the argument was it's not pornography. And the other board member says, what do you call it? It is
Well,
pornography.
yeah. Then what do you call it if it's
Because
not?
it
If it has sexually explicit material in it,
But
then how is it not pornography?
here's what the state statute says.
Okay.
Say that what you just said. If it has what?
Sexually
Explicit.
Uh-huh.
Explicit. The problem is the statute only talks about it as being visual.
What do you mean visual? Like pictures?
Like pictures,
Video?
video.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything about text or your written stuff.
So let's just say your youngest daughter, she is 15 now. Is that correct?
That's right.
So if someone texts her something inappropriate from whatever, just another guy, an older guy, starts texting her inappropriate stuff, sexually explicit material, that's covered by Missouri law?
Yeah, I guess so, because here's
Or is
the thing. It doesn't.
or is that soliciting a minor? So what's the difference?
But it doesn't matter. I mean, you could be another 16-year-old, right?
Right.
Another 16-year-old that's saying sexually explicit stuff.
My point
your point is
these books
right.
are written by adults.
Yeah.
So why isn't that?
Not all of them are. There are some. When you say adults, maybe you're right.
Over. Gosh darn it, it messed up again. It took 10 minutes and now we're back. I don't know what's going on with this podcast and whatever happened. I know this was a split second for you guys, but we were talking about the refresher for you guys.
Sexually explicit materials
Correct.
in the books at
So
schools.
what if teachers text their students something like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Then what?
I don't know, but here's the thing.
Well, we know what would happen.
Yeah, well, we hope we know what would happen.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. After that argument, because I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The teacher who was arguing that the book was not pornographic said that the state statute does not have verbiage as part of a statute saying that verbiage is the wording is not pornographic. It has to have pictures. And these books,
Disappointing.
this book does not have it. So here's the thing I want you to know. Believe me, after that conversation that I had with this gentleman that was part of this this whole issue, I have made the commitment. I've already talked to my assistant, and we are going to make sure that definition, because if you look up the definition, somebody look up the definition of pornography. The very first thing I think it says is that anything verbal or visual, and verbal comes first, text or visual.
Are you looking for like the dictionary definition or the legal one?
Right. No.
Well, so I have a Wikipedia thing.
We've got printed or visual. Printed or visual.
There you go.
Not visual. Printed or visual material containing explicit.
So we need to Google
which
we need to
one?
look at Missouri state law and see what it says.
It says explicit desmission or display.
But I guess you're looking at
description. This is just the dictionary definition.
Yeah. No. This is.
Then what's the law say? Because you said there's another one that says about law.
Well, yeah, so we can look up the legal one too, but the famous Supreme Court justice commented, I know it when I see it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was a whole legal fight, So, by the way, guys, obscenity laws are technically still on the books. We could enforce them if we wanted to. So really, honestly, we don't need a new law. And the thing is, Jeff, that is insane. It's literally insane that teacher was trying to defend pornography in public children's libraries.
Very disgusting.
It's a really bold move, Cotton, to actually go to bat for written pornography. Well, technically the statute, you're getting legalistic and splitting hairs at that point. We know what you're trying to do. How do you do that with a straight face and not feel weird? I don't get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, see, these teachers have become activists now, and that's why.
And here's the thing. We're going to change it. I'm going to go back and we are going to add the language to the statute to make sure that it references.
It's just really weird that we even have to do that.
If we're going to split hairs like that, we might as well.
Well, we have to because they're going to get legalistic against us, and that they're going to continue to.
Well, then something needs to happen, and I think you're on the right track then for that to work out.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Well, I sometimes compliment you, don't I?
Yeah, sometimes.
That teacher or that school board member, teacher, whoever it was, probably should not be in their position.
Well, they are a school board teacher, They're a teacher not in Grain Valley. They used to be. They are no longer in Grain Valley.
Well,
But they ran for, she ran for a school board position and won.
No.
So, yeah.
She did?
Yep. And look, she's a super nice person. And you're always going to hear me say this.
Well,
I
I'm
don't
sure
have
Hitler
to.
was too
I
when
don't-
he was one-on-one with his...
Well, so wait, so why is she so committed to defending obviously pornographic material?
Because
to minors?
yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's for
why?
the same reason that she's so committed to making sure that the transgender kids are getting their gender-affirming care.
It's almost like they're connected.
Yeah,
It's almost
exactly.
like the left are pedos.
Like I was just saying, oh, interesting.
The left are pedos. Say it over and over again until you're blue in the face. The left are pedos.
Like I was saying, our teachers have become activists.
No, that's absolutely right.
Instead of teaching our children math, science, and social studies, and general life guidance, they're teaching them trans activism. They're teaching them LGBTQIA.
Ampersand, $, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. But you were starting to say something earlier also about a great poet.
Philosopher or poet
Oh,
or
yes,
something.
I know we're getting controversial on this podcast, but as the great poet Eminem once said, we need a little controversy.
I think that would have came back better again if, maybe it would have shown through.
Yeah.
We froze again here. I don't know what's going on. with
Again?
this.
Right now?
I don't know if it's the, no, right now we're doing good. I don't
No?
know. Something's
Okay.
cutting in and out.
I got you.
This whole thing is starting to freeze. I don't know why.
I just want to finish.
I know. Well, we're at 41 minutes right now.
So, yeah, the people are probably getting ready for us to finish anyway.
They're like, wrap it up, guys. So go ahead and finish up your thought. And
Well, again, I think that our schools are going down the wrong path, and I think our folks need to get active again with our schools to make sure that we're teaching our kids what they need to learn to be good, productive students or good, productive citizens when they leave high school.
members
to give
of
them
society.
Yep. To give them choices of, do I go to college? Do I go to trade school? Do I just get a job? Teach them to be able to do those things and not all the stuff that they're teaching right now. But look, here's one of the things I want to tell you, because we've had some difficulties today, so let's kind of wrap this thing up. First of all, Dakota, you may not like to hear this, but unfortunately, I like the flow of this podcast here, other than the technical difficulties we've had. So you're now going to have to be permanent. Sorry
Wow.
about that, buddy.
Wow. Well, I'm going to take that pretty hard.
Welcome aboard.
But I'll
Welcome
cope.
aboard.
I'll cope.
So, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations, man.
It's a big honor. It really is.
Well, it should be with all tens of our listeners.
Yeah, exactly.
And we are 3 of them.
Yeah.
So that being said, let's wrap it up. Give Coleman his 2 minutes for Coleman's Corner. Jeff, take it away, sir.
Thanks, guys. Look, I'm not going to belabor all this with our technical difficulties. What I do want to say is, please, if you like our podcast, please like and follow us, because we're trying to grow this thing. We want to make sure that we're getting the message out there of our conservative approaches on things. So please give us a like, give us a follow, and we will see you next week. Thank you, guys.
See you guys.